I'm India Langley. I work at the Climate Bonds Initiative as an agri-food sustainability analyst. But before that, I was part of the Agri-Food for Net Zero network. I was one of the Year 1 champions looking at novel food production systems. And where I found I've gotten a lot of joy is doing a lot of qualitative research, particularly around sort of stakeholder engagement and trying to create a just transition to net zero, because there are so many different moving parts and not everyone has equal power within that. So I'm really grateful to the Agri-Food for Net Zero project for taking me on as a Year 1 champion. So it's definitely helped propel me into the situation that I'm in now, and I very much enjoy the work that I do and the sort of career trajectory that I have. In the Year 1's champion, there were 9 of us, and 8 of us eight of them were sort of senior academics. I was the only person from industry, the only person without a PhD. I didn't even have my master's at that point, though I do now have one in food policy. And so they did very much take a chance on my ability to sort of engage with the research. But I would say that they were very understanding of the sort of extra support I would need to sort of engage in that line of work. I was very eager to do it, but definitely did require a little bit of extra hand-holding in those early days. And I also felt that they really valued the difference that I brought to the table. So because we had 9 of us working as champions and only 1 from industry, it meant that I was able to bring a little bit of a different perspective that focused more on how solutions were going to be implemented on the ground, rather than just purely what the science says, because we definitely need to be having those voices as part of the network. It's been instrumental for what I do now to be able to have that research experience. So the role that I'm currently in at Climate Bonds, they were actually seeking someone with a PhD, which is something that I do not have, but found that the research experience that I had gained through the network was really valuable. And I've also been able to bring contacts that I made through the network into the work that I do. A lot of Agri-Food for Net Zero focuses on stakeholder engagement and managing communities of practice and making sure that everyone's voice is heard. And this has been a key skill in my role to date. So I manage a technical working group and an industry working group to deliver the criteria and get them through public consultation and finally to publication. And those are skills that were definitely honed through the AFN network. I felt to a certain extent that I came into the champions with a bit of a disadvantage, and not having a PhD, being much earlier in my career. So most of the academics were quite senior, quite a bit older than me. But I felt like the AFN network worked quite hard to make sure that my voice was still heard, that it was treated as valuable. They acted on a lot of the suggestions I made, and I think that I sort of helped point them in a certain direction, which I hope has been good for them. And to also just encourage me to actually use that voice. I think initially when I first joined, I was a little bit quieter because I felt that my experience maybe wasn't as valuable as some of the other more senior people in the room. But that was sort of quickly encouraged out of me. I was about to say drummed out of me, but I think it was encouraged out of me. So yeah, I think that's something that they practice as well as preach. One of the ways that I think that EDI feels a little bit different at the AFN network is it sounds a little bit wishy-washy, but it's in a level of warmth that you experience when you come into the space. And this is something that was very much extended to me, but it's something that I've noticed be extended much further afield. I've sort of seen it in the interactions with lots of different people. And I think when you're looking at EDI from a checkbox exercise, it's have we got enough people in the room of various different types? But whether or not they feel welcomed and encouraged is a completely different piece of the puzzle. And it's something that I think that the AFN network does really well, is that level of warmth. And I think also it's almost like a level of knowledge of what different people do. There's sort of like prior maybe research or maybe around sharing information across the network. I think a lot of people come into various different rooms already knowing who someone else might be, what they're working on. And I think that does a lot to make people feel included and feel like they matter.